Austin Trucker here. Welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy it.
How's your Monday going? On my third load already. Where you been? Today. Rocking and rolling, loading up number 5. Jiggle, 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 jiggle. That's what you got to do for that stupid thing. What am I doing that for 2 years now? I think. Truck's 30, hit the rain. Blowing some smoke this rainy day. I love it. I love looking in the spot mirror for that smoke trail on every shift. Some more than others. You know, I was talking to Pat Flaherty the other day, right? That guy's got a hell of a memory. Mid-80s, remembers every truck he ever drove, what the transmission was, every conversation. And he's got so many stories. I just love it. I love talking to guys like him. Just thinking back in my early life as I became a trucker. Let's even go back further than that. You know, I took my first truck ride in a truck with my dad when I was 6. Dad was a Teamster back then, so you're talking 1976. I'm 60 years old. And an old white 9000, white motor trucks, 9000. Snub nose, bare bones, steel truck. No creature comforts, didn't know the difference. It was the coolest thing ever. But I don't think that's when I decided I was going to be a trucker. You know, I sat on the passenger side. There was no passenger seat. I sat on a milk crate. No seat belt. A lot of noise. A lot of clicking of the 10-speed Road Ranger. That was heaven to me. But, and I went with my dad as much as I could. Summer vacations, days off from school. And, when Dad started going over the road in 1980, Dad worked for Cape Cod Overland. They were Teamsters. And when deregulation happened, they pretty much went out of business around 1980. And when you're a Teamster, you try to get on the list with another company. So you got to be working 28 days to get on the list. For whatever reason, Dad couldn't get on the list again. Yellow Freight, 28 days. APA, 28 days. CF, 28 days. And it wasn't because he wasn't a hard worker, because Dad worked his ass off. He was a big guy. He was strong. Maybe they didn't like him. Maybe he was a foreigner. Maybe that's why. He spoke English, but his had a strong accent. Who knows? I don't know why. It could be a million reasons. I was trying to ask Pat Flaherty the other day, what's a reason a guy wouldn't make a list? Anyway, Dad goes over the road in 1980. GMC Astro. I remember his first over the road trip was for Westwood Cartage. He was going to run a team. He was going to run teams and learn how to run the road. And he came home with a GMC Astro. It was a newer one. It had the big wide grill. And I brought the truck home one night to get his stuff. I remember climbing in that truck. Actually, I had to be lifted up in that truck. It was so high, I don't think I could climb in it. I was like 10 years old. And just sitting in that truck, like nervous to move. I didn't want to touch anything. I didn't know what anything did, really. Had that big fishbowl window with a sweeping dashboard. And Dad brought the truck home, and I guess he was going to go meet his partner, and they were going to go for a ride. And I don't know, he didn't work there very long. He might have only worked there a couple trips. And he ended up going to work for Paul Devaney out of Avon, Mass. A company called Provident Leases, also known as Waterford Fast Freight. They had two names. And they ran old trucks. Dad was in a GMC Astro. Used to be owned by Weymouth Art Leather. So it said on the door, but it was spray painted over. I mean, this truck was nothing to look at. I didn't know anything. I thought it was cool. Old GMC Astro, small grill, 2 stacks coming out of the back, Detroit under the hill, under the hood, under the doghouse, 13 speed. He started running the road, mostly doing Zehrs stores. Zehrs was like an earlier version of TJ Maxx. Zehrs stores out of Clinton, Massachusetts, the warehouses in out of Mansfield, Massachusetts. And my first summer vacation, when he was doing over the road, I went with him in the truck. We went to Ohio, North Olmsted, Garfield Heights, Ohio, Cleveland, Gary, Indiana, Hammond, Indiana, all the great places to go in the truck, in the Astro. That's when I knew I was going to be a trucker. Hitting the truck stops, stopping at the Buckhorn, Clearfield, Bockyville, Toledo T5 truck stops. The truck stops, man. Just the smell of the diesel. Picking out the conventionals in the lineup, the long hoods. Those were special. You saw a conventional, like an A model Kenworth. Most of them were small bunks. Those guys stood out. You were like, wow, that was trucking. Wow. If we only could have a conventional someday, that would be something cool. I was just thinking, we were at the Gary, Indiana store. Now, all these, back in those days, everything was loaded on the floor, meaning they weren't on pallets. driver unload, and a lot of times driver load, meaning the driver loaded it. A forklift would run a pallet of freight into the truck. The driver would take it off the pallet and stack it in the nose of the trailer as high as you can go, all the way to the back till it was full. Same with unloading. And when he did Zehrs stores, Zehrs, you'd back up to a loading dock or an open area behind the store, and they would put rollers in the trailer. You would stack these heavy rollers. They were metal rollers, and there would be stanchions. A lot of you guys know what I'm talking about. You would stack these rollers into the trucks, and you would run these rollers right up to where the freight ended. You would just drop boxes on the rollers. My dad loved to stack the roller till it was full, and then a lot of the people in the stores, they're always talking, no work ethic, just like now. And my dad would always push the boxes down until they started falling off the roller, just to piss off the people in the warehouse to make them work faster. But I remember when we were in Gary, I was on the truck, and I was always helping Dad put the lighter boxes on the rollers, pick up boxes that fell off. And I stepped backwards. There was a space between the trailer and the loading dock, for whatever reason, I don't remember. And I stepped backwards and I fell between the truck and the loading dock, catching myself, dangling in the air with my little 10-year-old legs. And I knocked the wind out of myself. One of my early memories of trucking. And, I was a very shy kid back then, very quiet. My father tried to get me to talk on the CB radio. I wanted no part of it. He'd be like, hey, Michael, get on the radio and tell him you need some information for Cincinnati. I'm like, Dad, I don't, what am I going to say? I'm a kid. Just get on the radio. He's bullying me. He's got a kick out of it. Dad's a little bit of a bully. He still is. But yeah, I love that old Astro. And then he got a cab over Kenworth, no visor. It was white with blue and green stripes, and I thought that was like top of the line. Very clean inside, and that beige Kenworth interior. I thought that was an awesome truck. I got pictures of all these trucks. I'll try and remember to post the pictures with the stories. And then he was driving around after that truck. He was driving around in a day cab auto car, a 10-wheel auto car tractor, no sleeper, long hood. And he was running in that day cab out to Ohio, doing Zehrs stores, sleeping in the truck, across the seats. Real trucking back then. No power steering, no stereo, no air conditioning, no nothing. No heated mirrors, no air ride seats. Bare bones trucking. And then this is all at the same company. Then he was in another cab over Kenworth, a beautiful Kenworth. It was silver, had some red stripes. That was the first truck my dad started doing anything with as far as customizing. So now we're talking 1985, 84, 85 at this point. He's been with Provident Leases now for 4 or 5 years. Bring the truck home, he'd wash it once in a while. My job was always to clean the truck when he got home. So he'd get home, truck came home with him, I would unpack the truck, and I would clean the truck, usually the inside, which meant sweeping up all the cigar ashes off the floor and off the dashboard, make the bed, clean the windows, pretend I didn't notice the Playboy magazines under the mattress. And it would take me all day to clean the truck because I was playing truck driver. And in that truck, he had a cassette player. He rigged up a cassette player anyways. So that one had one in the dashboard, actually. He put one in. and I would play the Shel Rotella tapes, the old Shel Rotella tapes. Willie Nelson, Alabama, Dolly Parton, and I just pretend I was driving, and I do it all day long in the truck. It took me all day to clean that truck. That was usually Saturday, and then Sunday morning he would leave. I always go down to the window and watch him leave in the morning, and lift the window up, and I could hear him leaving early Sunday morning, especially in the Astro. I could hear him for miles heading out towards the highway. And that was routine. And then in 85, 86, he started, he had a dedicated run. He was driving a white Road Boss, an old Quinn motor freight truck. It was white. They painted it white. And he was running from Plymouth Rocks Terminal out of Seekonk, usually once in a while out of Stoneham, Mass. We bobtailed down there from Avon. Every night he'd leave at 6 o'clock, bobtail down to Seekonk. It's about a 45-minute drive. Hook up to a trailer, pull out of there between 7 and 7:30. Some nights he'd go to Brooklyn, New York, which was 4 hours. Straight down 95. Toll booths in Connecticut every few miles. There was a lot of action. I went as much as I could in the summer. A lot of action on 95. Running with all the Plymouth Rock drivers and the St. Johnsbury drivers and all the freight drivers. And everybody had radios. Everybody were on a different channel. And some guys had lights on their truck to know who they were. You know, one guy would have like one green light, another guy would have, blue light. You always knew the identifying markers by their trucks, And when you went by, you could turn the dome light on to give them a wave, call them on the radio, flash your lights at them, stop at the diner in New Haven or Bridgeport, get some apple pie a la mode, coffee. Dad would run to Brooklyn, New York, drop and hook and come back. Some nights he'd run to Jersey City, Plymouth Rock and Jersey City, drop and hook, come back. Some nights he'd go to Brooklyn, New York, drop and hook, go to Jersey City from there, through the, I think it was the Holland Tunnel, back to Boston. So it was like a 12, 13-hour night, depending on the weather. You do that 5 nights a week, sometimes 6 nights a week. And that really was just, four-wheelers, I tell you what, it's an emergency vehicle in the breakdown lane. Nobody in the left lane. I put my signal light, I move over. There's a pickup truck way behind me. He floors it when he sees me move over and starts to pass me on the right. Except I'm straddling both lanes, so I'm gonna go back over. That's what just happened there. Man, allergies are killing me. I'm not crying. Allergies, man. Pollen. But so Dad did that for a couple years, running that turn until '87. When he was going to buy a truck and lease it on with Plymouth Rock and do the same run. So he bought an '87 Western Star, brand new. We went to a lot of dealerships looking for a truck. So by this time I'm 17, I have my license, I have a car, I got a '79 Mercury Cougar. I'm actually out looking for trucks while Dad's doing his deal. He's all looking, we were looking at, we went down to looking at a brand new one-stack red R model Mack. It was gorgeous. Now we were looking at a brand new white GMC. Long hood, one stack. Dad liked whites, and I like whites too. This was a beautiful truck, another truck we looked at. When he ended up speccing out a brand new '87 Western Star. Now he only specced it out to run back and forth to Brooklyn every night. So it wasn't heavy spec'd, a 315 horsepower Cat, 10-speed Road Ranger, 42-inch bunk, one stack. But it was a fancy truck. This truck had an air ride seat. This was the first one he ever had an air ride seat in. Low back air ride. And by the time he got that truck, Plymouth Rock was going out of business. So he had to come up with a new plan. And the new plan was to lease on with Sea Line out of West Warwick, Rhode Island. Sea Line was an established company owned by Lloyd Clark. Really great guy. Dad leased on with Sea Line and started running 48 states with them. Now up to that point he had never run past Chicago or further south than the Carolinas really. Now he's running 48 states. My summer vacations got that much more exciting. Getting running California, running Oregon, running Washington State, Florida, Texas, Arizona, everywhere, you know. And by that time, I've already decided I'm going to be a trucker. But I didn't tell Dad that. I didn't tell my father I was going to be a trucker because he kept telling me he didn't want me to be a trucker. You know, he kept saying, oh, you got to go to college. You got to go to college. You got to... Meanwhile, he was teaching me how to drive in the summertime. You know, and there were times where Dad would get in the bunk. I'm going to take a nap. Keep it straight. You know? All right. No worries. And I was driving, I should go back. I was driving that white Robos when he was hauling for Plymouth Rock. I was driving that white Robos when I was 15 and 16 years old. That's the truck I learned how to drive on. I'd bobtail home every morning when I went with him in the summer from Seekonk to Avon. Shifting that 10-speed Road Ranger. Couldn't downshift to save my life. I'd coast into the service plaza. Put it in neutral. All right, Dad, take it home. Yeah, I had no chance of being anything but a trucker. When I started driving, I was still in high school. See, the problem was, I got my Class 1, what you call the Class A now, when I was 18, which was in December of the year I was going to graduate high school. I was going to graduate that June. But I was struggling in school. I didn't like school. My grades were, every letter of the alphabet pretty much. And then I got a job driving part-time for Serta Sleeper, Serta Mattresses. That didn't last long. I wasn't cut out for unloading mattresses, but then I got another job with East Coast Truck and Trailer, moving damaged trailers and damaged tractors and taking them from terminal to terminal. And I was skipping school all the time. By the time it was time to graduate, I was short on credits. I was going to have to take summer school, and I was like, screw that. I'm trucking. So I was full-time trucking. Got a GED. Got my GED. You're looking at a GED graduate. So then, Dad talks me into enrolling in Massasoit Community College, Canton campus, to get a degree in diesel mechanics. So if you're going to drive a truck, you got to know how to fix them. And all right, I had no interest in going back to school. I did not like school. Just wanted to drive. But I enrolled. 2-year program. You get an associate degree after 2 years. And I took diesel mechanics with Mr. Simons, an old salty naval guy who was in World War II, on battleships, fixing engines, and every class was pretty much listening to them tell his stories. And I took fuel pump class. And I took electric class with Mr. A Russian teacher. I can't remember his name all of a sudden. And I was skipping school because I was driving and falling behind. Learning a few things in diesel mechanic school, but not enough. And I dropped out because I got offered a job with Land Transport. Now we're talking 1989. Got offered a job with Land, working local. Framingham, 333 Beaver Street, Framingham, Mass. I was living in Brockton, Mass, commuting up there. It's a long commute. Usually every morning, and it was late nights. A lot of hours. Pretty sure it was straight time back then. I don't think I got overtime. I don't know what I was making back then. It was probably $8-9 an hour. I don't remember. I was just happy to be driving. Mostly was driving in the beginning. L8000 Fords, single axles, Internationals, S model International, day cab. And sometimes I get to drive the road trucks when the road drivers were home. Cab over Mac, Ultraliner, Cab over International, 96, 70s. You know, when you're 18, you're driving those road trucks, no window in the back. That's a pretty cool feeling, pretty hefty feeling driving those things. Sometimes I get to drive one with a hood on it. We had Internationals, we had Ford L9000s. These were all lease trucks. L9000s, some Freightliner. We had an FLC Freightliner with a setback axle. FLD 120. Everything was single bunks. We didn't have any big bunk trucks then. And when I would make these local runs with the road trucks, I would pretend in my head I was a road driver. I would try and portray myself as I was the driver of that truck. I always wore truck stop t-shirts. That period of my life, high school, and my early trucking career, I wore truck stop t-shirts. That my dad would get me from when he was on the road. He'd bring them home for me. Or I would get them when I was on the road with my dad on vacation. I had truck stop t-shirts from all over the country. Manning, South Carolina. I had one from Salinas, California. I had one from the Mayflower. I had just truck stop t-shirts because that's how I rolled. I'm at the gravel pit. And then I started running the road. 18, almost 19 years old. It was a few months from my 19th birthday. Just by fluke. Oh, let me go back. Stop. Even when I was working local, I was running out of state, by the way. When I was 18. New Hampshire, Maine, Rhode Island, Connecticut, local stuff. But I remember the first time they sent me to Maine. I had to go to Biddeford, Maine. I was in a cab over Mac. I ran up to Biddeford, and I was like, I need a CB radio for this run. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'm up here in Maine. So I stopped at the TA truck stop in Greenland, New Hampshire on the way up. Bought a CB radio, 2 red fire sticks. I probably spent an hour putting the antennas on, mounting the radio, just to go up to Biddeford and then come back and then get out of that truck for the road driver to come back and take it over and take the radio out again. That's how wacky I was. But I was a trucker. I had a CB radio. And I wasn't afraid to talk on it at that point. Man. Those are some days. Those are some good days, man. Some of my best memories were driving for Land Transport. just a ragtag company. You only know Land Transport because I talk about it. It wasn't like a special company. It was just like this little company. But they grew. I mean, we had a terminal in Framingham. We had one in Evansville, Indiana, and then eventually Las Vegas. But that job made me into a trucker. And it was really the drivers I surrounded myself with that all took me under their wings, really. You know, I try to be a mentor to younger guys. Same way older guys were mentors to me in my beginnings. You know, nobody ever talked down to me when I was starting out. They always treated me like an equal, really, and I wasn't. I was new. I was a rookie. I was a kid. But it's some good times. We could run. Hard work. Physically hard work. Mentally hard work. But it never really seemed like work. Dirty, sweaty. Good times. Loved it. Pollen, man. I don't cry. Oh, man. Well, I love that job. My first truck at Land, my first official assigned truck. International 9670 cab over, brown interior, had the furry doghouse. I hate repeating myself. I hate telling the same stories. That's all I got, though. So maybe you find this interesting. Maybe a few of you haven't heard these before. When I was asked to go over the road on that first trip, and I reminded my boss that I'm not even 19 yet, I'm not even 21. He's like, just don't get caught. And I had been driving this truck steady locally every day. They'd taken it off the road, really. I left the first trip heading out to Indiana. I didn't even have a mattress in that truck. I threw my sleeping bag in there the first trip, and I was off to the races. And it's hard to imagine, you know, an 18-and-a-half-year-old driving over the road for his first time, not being nervous. That would sound crazy to me, especially in today's environment with new drivers. But I do not remember ever being nervous behind the wheel, driving across the country, not knowing what to do, because I had been trained my entire life watching my father and how he did it. And how he behaved. So that's, for me, there was no learning curve. I knew what to do. And I was off to Indiana. When I came back from that first trip, I got a mattress put in that truck, and I was a road guy. Don't get caught. That's all. They didn't care. Nobody cared. I didn't care. I was happy. I was driving over the road 2.5 years earlier than I was expecting to. And I ran that International for a while, a few months. Out to Indiana, TJ Maxx warehouse. You know, I mean, you'd start out Worcester, Mass, 4 or 5 stops in New Jersey. So you'd bobtail. So here's what you did. You bobtail. For you who don't know, bobtailing means tractor without a trailer. I would drive my tractor without a trailer, bobtailing, from Framingham to Worcester. It was way up in Worcester too. The warehouse was up by the Worcester Airport, in the hills. rough road, bumpy road. Check in with security, get your trailer, get your paperwork. Trailer was sealed, loaded, front to back, boxed. You knew it was loaded, not front to back, top, fully loaded. Usually my first stop, Paterson, New Jersey. It's about a 4.5, 5 hour drive. I'm talking low power Cummins, 9-speed. Wasn't a fast ride, bumpy. Get down to Paterson, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Sleep right at the store. Get up about 6, 7 o'clock. They knock on your door. You back up. Start unloading. You lift the door, the boxes are falling out of the trailer. That's how tight these trailers are packed. And then start building rollers as you get into the trailer. Get your first stop off, head to the next one. Hackensack, Kearney, Orange, New Jersey, wherever. And then it was time to load. By this time it's 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Sweaty, tired, feel gross. Now you gotta go get a floor load. Floor load, driver load. TJ Maxx stuff. And it was always dirty boxes that were shipped from overseas that have been in containers. And they run them into the truck. You load them as high and as tight as you can because you were coming out of there with a full load. You had to do a box count. Every pallet they brought in, you had to count the boxes, keep a tally, take them off the pallets, drive a load. Usually you didn't get any help. And by the time you were loaded, it was 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Let's say it's a Monday. That was a typical week. Leave Sunday night. Deliver Monday, New Jersey, 4 or 5 stops. Load New Jersey. Sometimes load Manhattan, like from the garment district. And now it's 4 or 5 o'clock, you're loaded. You've already put in 18 hours, I don't know, 14, 15, 16, 18 hours for that day. You didn't think nothing about that. No one worried about that. Now it's time to get out of the city. Get up on 78 or 80 and head west. Bumpa da bumpa. Bumpa da bumpa. Stop and get some dinner over in Jersey, over there at the Polish Diner on 78 there with the healthy women there and the truck stop. Dude, by the way, the Polish Cafe in New Jersey on 78 on the service road, we call it the Polish Cafe, might have been, you know what I'm talking about. The walls were filled with old trucker company hats, stickers, patches. I heard all that stuff is still in that building. I'm gonna break in there on my way to McCunchy and get it. No, somebody should though, man. I don't know who owns it. But anyways, if you read about a big theft at the Polish Cafe in New Jersey, that wasn't me. But get a meal, drive. Make it to Carlisle, the All-American Truck Stop in Carlisle. Now it's the Petro. That's usually where I get my first sleep. Probably been up now for 24 hours. Get to Carlisle, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock at night. Go to bed, 5 or 6 hours. Get up, shower, drive all day, cross the PA Turnpike, get on 70, right through Wheeling, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, all the way across Indiana to Terre Haute, get on 41 South, right down in Evansville. You get there that night, drop your loaded trailer at TJ Maxx. Now it's Tuesday night. And usually I got to sleep that night. For some reason, I remember going to the Motel 6 a lot, right next to there was a Denny's there. I go to it was a cheap hotel right on the highway. Some nights I go to the hotel, get a good night's sleep, get up Wednesday morning, back to TJ Maxx warehouse. I get my South Carolina load. 5 or 6 stops in the Carolinas. That was a nice run. We'll drop through Kentucky, through Hopkinsville. Make your way down through Nashville, over Mount Eagle, not Mount Eagle, Mont Eagle, down Mont Eagle. No Jake brake in my truck. I didn't know nothing about Jake brakes then. My dad's 87 Western Star didn't have a Jake brake, so I didn't know anything about engine brakes at that point. Through Tennessee, through the Smoky Mountains, through Asheville, North Carolina, make your way over to 26. Usually made it down to what's that truck stop? There was a TA truck stop. Having a blonde moment. Anyways, make it over to South Carolina that night. Start pedaling South Carolina the next day. Spartanburg, that's the thing of Spartanburg, Columbia, Charleston. Usually ended up at Hilton Head, which was down at the bottom. From Hilton Head, I'd either I'd get paper out, international paper out of Georgetown, South Carolina. Sometimes they'd bounce us to international paper in Brewton, Alabama. I don't remember why. It seemed like a long way to bounce. That's what I remember. Load paper on Friday. Load paper so you deliver Thursday, South Carolina. Load paper either Thursday night out of Georgetown or Friday out of Brewton, Alabama. Heavy load, big rolls of paper, massive rolls. You leave there 80,000 pounds. Whole cab over, no horsepower, didn't know any different, and drive almost straight back to Boston because you had to leave out again Sunday night. So if I left Georgetown, South Carolina late Thursday night, I'm talking 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd be back in Boston by early Saturday morning. If I went out of Brewton, Alabama, and I loaded there out of the Friday, I'd be back in Boston mid-Saturday afternoon. And go back out Sunday. I did that for a long time. A few years. Right up till 1992. Man, we had some good times. And you know what? I'm forgetting a few things. My memory isn't great. At some point in that time that I was driving for land, I became friends with a guy named Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith was from, I want to say Merrimack, New Hampshire. And he worked at land part-time. He worked for Transgas. Transgas was a gas company. And he got laid off. He would drive for land over the road. And Jimmy decided to buy a truck from Shawano. Shawano, the meat company out of South St. Paul, Minnesota. Jimmy was going to buy a truck, run it for a while during his laid off time, and then put a driver in his truck. Well, he ended up introducing me to his cousin, his stepsister. And her and I dated for a while. That's a whole nother story that I can't even get into. I ended up driving for Jimmy. I quit land to drive for Jimmy at a brand new 1992 FLD 120 Freightliner, decked out, had a 60-inch flat top walk-in bunk. I mean, this is the fanciest truck I've ever driven. And we're gonna haul for Shawano, hauling beef for Shawano. So Jimmy did a bunch of runs for them, And then he was going to go back to work for Transgas, and I was going to drive his truck. I was going to be his driver. So I head out to Shawano, go through orientation, haul a few beef loads for about a month, mostly to the East Coast, box beef, not swinging me, box beef on the floor. And my DOT inspection was up, my card. So when I got to St. Paul, they're like, "Oh, we'll send you to our doctor." Well, I got to the Shawano's doctor, and he's doing the physical on me, and he's like pulling on my fingers, and he gets to this hand, and he goes, "Whoa, you need a waiver for that." And I'm like, "What do you mean I need a waiver?" He goes, "Yeah, you need a waiver. I can't pass you without a waiver. You have to have a waiver." It's like, I'd already been driving 4 or 5 years by then. Well, how do I get a waiver, Doug? Well, you got to go back home to Massachusetts, and it usually takes a few months. I'm like, are you kidding? I mean, I got a truck here, you know what? That's it. So I took his word as gold, I guess. Called up Jimmy that night. I go, "Listen, Jimmy, I failed my DOT inspection, my health card inspection. You know, what are we gonna do?" Jimmy says, "Give me a few hours. I'm gonna make some calls." So he calls up Land, who we both worked for previously. I mean, I was only working there a month ago. He says, "All right, this is what you're gonna do. You're not gonna tell anybody, but you're gonna bobtail tonight from St. Paul down to Evansville, Indiana, and tomorrow we'll start hauling for Land." And so I did that and drove overnight, 1,000 miles, whatever it is, down to Evansville, which I was excited about because land transport to me was like being home. It was like I was like going back home. I knew all the guys in Indiana, you know. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome," and I got a cool ride too, you know. So, because I came out of a cab over to go into that Freightliner, so it was like it's a big upgrade for me in my mind. Meanwhile, driving for an owner-operator isn't what it's cracked up to be because the pay structure is always different, no benefits, no security. But I just saw a big ride. So, get down to Land. I told the story before. We took Shawano's bingo card, which is a piece of paper with a stamp from every state that you're allowed to run in that you pay fuel taxes on. We took Land's bingo card, used Shawano's information, stapled it with about 1,000 staples. I stapled it over it, which is totally illegal, and started running for them. Now at this point, my South Carolina run was gone with another driver. I started running Las Vegas. So I'd run Worcester, Mass, Evansville, Las Vegas, and then from Las Vegas, sometimes I come all the way back across to Worcester. Sometimes I take an empty trailer down to Los Angeles, to the bad areas, you know, not the good areas. It's never went anywhere good like Beverly Hills. You went off of Bandini, you know. Everything was off of Bandini, it seemed. You know, floor load back across the country. And I was doing that for a long time, probably a year. And, you know, I would go round trip from Boston to Vegas and back, you know, maybe Indiana in between with an LA, 6.5 days, 5,600 miles. Not thinking anything about it. One, tired, didn't need sleep, left lane super truck and left lane gang all day long. And then Jimmy decided to get back in the truck full time, kick me out of it. I went back to drive for Land as a company guy, and now I was a respected road guy. They gave me a conventional. They gave me one of their international conventionals, the small bunk. I was so happy because I looked up to the guys who had the conventionals of Land. Those guys Those guys are the real deal. So I was one of them now. 22 years old. A veteran of the road already. I mean, come on. And I did that. I drove that truck another 6 months or so, and this was 1992. The CDL was coming out. Things were changing. A lot of talk, like always in trucking. Oh, things are changing. You better get your shit together, and blah 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 blah. And I was doing a lot of illegal stuff for land and knowing it. And I got to get right. I got to get right before I get caught. So I started looking for another job. And back then there was no internet. The way you found another job was either from talking to a driver, from seeing a listing in a trucking magazine, or they would have pamphlets in truck stops on carts that spun with companies that were hiring. And I called a lot of companies. I applied to a lot of jobs. Most of them would only hire you at 23. I was 22. I had the minimum experience, which was 2 to 3 years. I had, I think, 4 years by that time, but I wasn't 23. I applied to a bunch of companies that wouldn't hire me. I wish I could think of the TRL out of Pittston, PA, Robochuck, they called them. I went in there looking for a job, wouldn't hire me. Anyways, one of the pamphlets was Bud Meyer Truck Lines. Never heard of them. Lake City, Minnesota. Pulling reefers, never pulled a reefer. 22 years old. Get him on the phone. Talked to a woman named Linda. Hey Linda, I've been driving for 4 years, coast to coast, 22. She's like, I mean, this is before fax machines. This is before online applications. I'm pretty sure it was she must have mailed me an application. I'm thinking back now. I filled it out and mailed it back. So we're talking weeks. Call back maybe a couple weeks later, or she called me back. When can you start? Gave my notice at land. Bud Meyer had a driver. Can't remember his name. Shoot. Boy. In Boston. Picked me up at the Service Plaza in Newton. In a big old Peterbilt. 379. Stand-up bunk. He's got a load of frozen fish on. He picked up out of Gorton's. Going to Super Value in St. Paul. He picks me up. I had a big bag with all my stuff in it. My clothes, my CB radio, I had my antennas wrapped up with tape. He's like, I don't got any room in the truck for this. You're going to have to throw it in the reefer, in the frozen reefer. Put all my stuff in the reefer, right? And he's like, you know, I hope you don't think you're just going to be a passenger in this truck. You're gonna be driving too. I'm like, all right. I go, I never really drove a 13 speed with a loaded trailer before. He's like, oh yeah, well, you'll figure it out. And we took off, got on the Mass Turnpike. He drove. I watched him drive. He smoked, chain smoked, old timer. And we get out to like Scranton that night, and I've been up all day. He's like, I'm going to bed, you can take over. All right, so got behind the wheel. Made it to Indiana. He drove a little bit. He's like, all right, I'm going back to bed. We got to Wisconsin. He goes, wake me when we get to the Minnesota line. Got to the Minnesota line. I'm calling him. No answer. We're going up Highway 61. I'm using a map, a Rand McNally map. No GPS. Never been to Minnesota yet. And actually, that's not true. That's another story for another day. I was in Minnesota with that Freightliner. Anyways, I pull into the terminal. I'm like, hey, we're here. He's like, oh, hey, you did a good job. You got us here. Middle of the night. With the orientation the next day at Bud Meyer. The one-day orientation. Put me up in a hotel, and hold on a second.
Clint, you okay?
You right there? Alright. Orientation. The next morning, it's time to get a truck. What am I gonna drive? They got all kinds of trucks at this point. In March 1992 at Bud Meyer, they got a row of cab overs, cab over Kenworth, cab over Pete, single bunks. They all have 350 cats in them. I think they had 9 speeds or 10 speeds in them. They had some white GMC integral sleepers.
Mike, this is fuel line, the high pressure line. Let's go. Somebody's coming up to fix it.
Okay. Bunch of Peterbilts, Kenworths, conventionals. But you're the new guy. And the new guy back in those days, you got the worst truck. You had to prove yourself. So they actually gave me a choice. You want a cab over Kenworth, or you want a cab over Peterbilt. So I took the Peterbilt. I had an affinity for cab over Peterbilts. And my dad, when he worked for Sea Line, when he hauled for Sea Line, they had a fleet of cab over Peterbilts, and I was like, the looks of those, I thought this would be really cool. I could get to drive one. So I got the cab over Peterbilt. Loaded up my first load out of Menominee, Wisconsin, going Market Basket in Tewksbury, Massachusetts. They get you home on the first load. That way you can get all your stuff, like everything. Went home, packed up my stuff, and I ran that road and that cab over to prove myself, you know, never late, just did my job. And about 6 months later, I pull in the yard one night, and safety guy was like, hey, you see that Peterbilt over there with the 63-inch flat top, 13 speed? I said, yep. You want it? I said, yep, it's yours. You earned it. So I started running that Peterbilt. Unknown to me, I was passing over other drivers who had been there a lot longer than me that was still driving cab overs. And when they found out, they saw me driving this Peterbilt conventional, a lot of them were really pissed off at me and would question me, why are you in that conventional? I've been here longer than you. I've been here a year. You've only been here 6 months. And to the point where I was like stressing me out, you know? And I didn't understand why. And one day when I got back to the yard, I went up to the safety guy. I'm like, hey Dale, you know, I don't want anything that wasn't earned. You know, a lot of guys are mad at me now because they're still in a cab. He said, Mike, if they earned it, they'd be in a conventional. You earned it. You're always on time. That's why you're in it. You tell them if they've got a problem to come and see me. So I was good after that. I felt good about that. Ran that hood. Short hood Peterbilt. Coast to coast, 48 states. Frozen food, produce, frozen fish. Everything. Hauled everything. Then one day the truck had to go in the shop, and they got these brand new Max. CH Elite Max. With 435 horsepower engines. I think they had 13 speeds. Double bunk. Plush. But they had an Aerodyne hood on it, kind of. I didn't like. This is the beginning of the Aerodynes. The Aerodyne's only been out a few years. And my truck had to go in the shop. And so they said, hey Mike, why don't you take one of those new Max down to Chicago? Chicago was a local trip out of Minnesota. It's 400 miles down, 400 miles back. It'd be like if I was running down to Baltimore now. It's like a local trip, Baltimore and back. Hey, take this load down to Chicago. By the time you get back, your truck should be ready. They got a brand new Mac, no plastic still on the seats. I go down to Chicago and back, and I'm like, wow, I really like this truck. I really like this truck. It's nice. lot nicer than the Peterbilt I was driving, which was old, rattled. You know, it was worn out. And it's like, hey, can I stay in this Mac? Like, sure, if you want to keep it, yeah, absolutely, you can have it. So I moved into that Mac. And 2 beds in it. It's awesome. Beautiful truck. Interior, outside. That's the first truck I really started taking care of really nicely. Waxing and polishing and adding chrome to it. And I ran that truck 1993 to 1995. And for some reason, and I can't remember why, I wanted to go drive for Walmart. And I don't remember the steps that led me there. I wasn't unhappy at Bud Meyer. Walmart was an all-cab over fleet, which meant I was going backwards in my career as far as what I was driving, but forward in my career as a professional driver, which I guess was important to me. I think, I don't remember. And getting that Walmart job was not easy. I was 25 years old, which was the minimum age for a Walmart driver. I had the minimum 600,000 miles accident-free driving. But I had to go for 3 interviews in New York, upstate New York, by Utica, a little town called Marcy, which is where the distribution center was. I had to organize that while running the road for Bud Meyer. I don't remember how I did it. I mean, I never stopped in the truck and had an interview. It was go home, get in my pickup truck, drive 5 hours to Utica for an interview, drive home, go back on the road, come back in a month or 2 for another interview and a road test. I still can't remember how I organized all that, but it happened. And I got hired. I was the youngest driver ever hired at Walmart east of the Mississippi River. That's what I was told. The minimum age was 25, but they didn't really hire 25-year-olds. But I got hired. And I quit Bud Meyer, sadly. And I remember my dad, at this point, I had recruited my dad from Sea Line over to Bud Meyer as an owner-operator. Dad had a 1990 Peterbilt by that time, a nice black one. And he gave me a ride home to Boston. And then I drove out to Walmart in my pickup truck and went to orientation, and they put me in a 87 Cab Over International first. So that truck was 7 years old, getting ready to be traded in, maybe 6 years old. I think it was an 87. Yeah, it was. No, I don't know. Anyways, that one was worn out. I drove that for a couple months. And I did not like driving for Walmart. I really just felt out of place. I felt like a kid. I felt young. I didn't like driving the cab overs. I didn't like coming back empty from the North Woods of Maine in a snowstorm all the way back across New York. Never felt right to me. Didn't like logging legal. Ate a lot. Spent a lot of time, running legal and sleeping in the bunk for 8 hours at a time. Just never felt right there. But I was making a go of it. I was like, this is where it's at. This is great money, getting paid a ton of money. Met some cool people, made some friends there, made some friends that I'm still friends with now. Like Walter White, Roy Woodside, call him Woody. And so Walmart almost a year. And I've told the story before, and maybe I'll just end it now. Just, man. It's too much. Too many things I'm forgetting to tell you now from back previous days. But, anyways, it's a hell of a career. I left Walmart after a year. Went back to Bud Meyer a couple more years. And, a hell of a career, man. Still got a long way to go. This chapter, this life ain't over yet. Got a lot more to do. The next 10 years, who knows?
Is that you, Mikey, the Boston trucker?
Yes, you got the Boston trucker. What's up?
I enjoy watching your videos on the TV.
Oh, really? Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Where are you?
I'm right behind me. I was in the Ford Escape. Do you have any more videos coming out?
Yeah, I put out videos every weekend usually. I'll have at least 1 or 2 this week coming out.
Yeah, my name is Charlie. I'm in Foxborough. I enjoy watching your videos and you keep your trucks clean. You probably, you and French and Jimmy Flett, you guys have clean trucks.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Are you in trucking or a trucker enthusiast?
Yeah, I had an old white with a 671 Detroit in it, and I had a arm auto Mac with the 2 sticks on the floor.
Oh, that's cool. You're still driving or are you retired?
I'm retired.
Oh, excellent, son. It's good to hear from you.
I go to the truck shows, the Antique Truck Club of America, and I enjoy looking at all the trucks and stuff. Brings back memories. And I like the B-Model Max.
Oh, yeah, those are nice. So, if you ever see me, come over and say hello.
I'd like to get a t-shirt from you. Do you sell them?
No, I don't sell them personally. You can get them on my YouTube channel. At the bottom of the videos, there's a link. You can get whatever you want over there. I don't handle them.
What town do you keep your trucks in? The Belmont area?
Waltham, and then we get a couple work out of Littleton.
Yeah, I'm in Foxborough, so I know Littleton very well.
Yeah, we're on Taylor Street over there.
Yeah, by Route 2, they're hauling a lot of gravel and loam and stuff, I noticed, by Taylor Street.
Yeah, that's us.
Alright, nice talking to you, Mike, and I just want to let you know I keep up the good videos. I enjoy watching them.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for calling me on the radio. You in that SUV with the antenna on it, right?
Yeah, that's me. I'm also a ham radio, too.
Oh, yeah, what kind of radio?
Radioologist, it's called. I bought it from Amazon.
Radioologist, copy. That's pretty good.
Hey, we'll see you later, mate. Nice talking, and keep on trucking.
All right, appreciate it there. Have a good day. We'll see you. I passed an SUV with the had the CB antenna, and he gave me the lights when they come over. That must have been him. That's pretty cool. That made my day. Why is it always raining when I wash my truck? That's a good question. I have an answer. Look, you know what that is? Fritos. No, not Fritos. Cheez-Its. I had Cheez-Its today. I like the extra toasty Cheez-Its. You ever get the ones that are extra toasty? They make them a little burnt. Those are the good ones. Just sweep out the floor. 4 o'clock. We'll get a wash. We'll get out of here by 5. And then hopefully the roads will be dry tomorrow. Supposed to stop raining tonight around 9 p.m. We'll have mud tomorrow to contend with at the pit. But the rest of the truck will stay clean. Let's go see what all that noise is out back. Gonna be a new world tomorrow. We're moving the corner up.
What do you think? We can make it 2 swings if we cut it back?
Maybe 1.
Go easy now. Let's not get carried away.
Yeah, from here to the corner. So like,
I think there might be some bodies buried in there.
solid block there.
Oh yeah? Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
That's the original dirt, you know. That's the original dirt from 10 years ago.
It hasn't fit me in 10 years. Get in that screen loom, baby. You might call it topsoil where you're from. Yeah, I've been working hard at the gym twice a week. 2 hours a week, that's it. I haven't really changed my diet much. I mean, I watch what I eat, but I couldn't wear this for a long time. I love this shirt. Pearl snaps. Old school. I want to work Saturday face. Boo-hoo, I know. Overtime. Next week is Memorial Day though, so I'm just gonna suck it up. Hi, Mike. Are you on the phone?
No.
Oh. Is everybody working tomorrow?
Yep.
Don't assume I can work every Saturday.
No, I don't assume that at all.
All right. When I say 2 loads, I'm being generous, but I'll probably do 3.
I know, because you're the best.
Don't say that. I am the best. Somebody said that in the comment section last week. They said, "Boy, you think your shit don't stink, don't you?" Who would say that? It's always somebody who doesn't have a picture in their profile, by the way. I don't think that. I might come off that way, but I don't think that. All right, we're gonna parka. End this week. What did we do this week? You know, if I filmed everything I did, I'd have like an 80-hour video. You only get little bits and pieces, which is enough, right? Otherwise, you'd be sick of me. You know, even with a job like this, I still get burned out. Especially when I run the same routes every day. And there's nothing better than having a full weekend off. I didn't know that when I was a road guy. I didn't care about that, but I do care now. And but you know, in the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, long weekend next weekend, Memorial Day weekend. let's not forget what Memorial's really about. It's not about barbecuing and long weekends. And then I'm like, okay, in 2 weeks I'm going to Texas for Super Rigs. So I'm leaving Wednesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday I'm off. And then in July, going on vacation to Spain and Italy. So gotta work a few Saturdays. And, you know, the Saturday money is nothing, especially I got a kid going to college. But that's what's in my mind. I'm like, I want to spend more family time, especially with my son going to college in a couple months, 3 months. So peace in Greece, man. We had a great week. Truck only got dirty once. Here's the suckiest part about working tomorrow. It's gonna rain. So it's not like I can just do my loads and get out of here and park the truck clean. It's gonna rain. It means I gotta wash. That's another hour. I can back up some more. Boston Trucking. I love you guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for everything. If you need some scrap mud flaps, we got them right here for sale. Martin's Peterbilt. I don't even know what that is. What does this one say? That was a Mac trailer mud flap. Update on the new trucks. The T800's gonna be done before my truck for sure. And my truck is MIA. It's getting done. You can't rush perfection. I'm gonna keep saying that. It's gonna be nice when it's done. Boston Trucker out. See ya.